Have you ever stopped to think about what's really happening when you breathe? I mean, really think about it. It's this epic story of travel, of exchange, of life itself, happening on a microscopic scale. And the wildest part? This entire saga unfolds inside your body with every single breath you take.
Seriously, think about it. For a healthy person, this whole adventure story repeats itself somewhere between 12 and 16 times every single minute. It's so fundamental to life that we do it without a second thought. So, let's change that. For the next few minutes, we're going to pay attention. We're going to follow the incredible journey of just one breath.
All right, first things first, why do we even bother? Well, it all boils down to energy. Every single one of your cells is like a tiny little power plant, and it needs a very specific fuel to run: oxygen. Your cells grab that oxygen to break down molecules, like glucose from your food, to generate the energy you need for, well, everything. But, every power plant produces waste. In this case, it's carbon dioxide, and you've got to get that stuff out. So breathing, it's the brilliant solution to this two-way problem. Get the good fuel in, and get the toxic exhaust out.
Now you should know, we mammals and our fancy lungs, we aren't the only ones who've cracked this code. Life has come up with all sorts of amazing ways to breathe. You've got the simplest creatures, like sponges, where gases just kind of drift across their whole body. Earthworms, they use their moist skin. Insects have this wild network of tiny little tubes, and in the water, fish use those incredible specialized gills. Oh, and then you've got frogs, who are masters of both worlds. They breathe with lungs and through their skin. It just goes to show you how absolutely essential this whole gas exchange thing is for life on Earth.
Okay, so let's get back to us. We're going to follow a single molecule of oxygen as it starts its big journey into the human body. This is where the action really picks up. It's about to travel down a highly specialized, perfectly designed pathway to get it exactly where it needs to be.
And here is our map for this whole trip, the human respiratory system. Our little oxygen molecule's journey kicks off right at the top, in the nostrils. From there, it's going to travel down through the pharynx, then past the larynx, that's your voice box, and then it hits the main highway, the trachea, what you and I call the windpipe.
In this path, it's like a giant upside-down tree. The trachea is the thick trunk, and it splits into two main branches called bronchi, one heading to each lung. And from there, it's just chaos. Those bronchi divide again and again and again into smaller and smaller bronchioles, until finally they end at the absolute tiniest little branches, the terminal bronchioles.
But here's the cool part. This whole network, from your nose all the way down to those tiny bronchioles, it's not just a bunch of pipes, no way. It's a super sophisticated air conditioning system. This whole conducting part cleans the air of dust and junk, it humidifies it so it doesn't dry out your lungs, and it warms it up to your exact body temperature. It's all about prepping the air for the very delicate destination it's about to hit.
And here we are. We've made it. This is the climax of our story. Our oxygen molecule has traveled all the way down the branching highway and has reached its final stop, the site of the great exchange, the exact spot where the air we breathe finally gets to meet our blood. Look at this. This is an alveolus, a tiny, incredibly thin-walled, little bag-like sac. And you've got millions of these things packed in your lungs. Now notice how it's literally wrapped in a delicate web of blood capillaries. The wall of this air sac and the wall of that blood vessel are squished right up against each other. This right here is the stage for the main event.
So, how does the oxygen actually get into the blood? It's all driven by a super simple concept: pressure. As you can see here, the partial pressure of oxygen in those air sacs is pretty high, about 104. But in the deoxygenated blood that's just arriving, it's way lower, only 40. And, well, gases always move from high pressure to low pressure. Think about the fizz rushing out when you open a can of soda. Same idea. And for carbon dioxide, it's the exact opposite. Pressure's higher in the blood, so it naturally pushes its way out into the air.
And you want to know the most mind-blowing part? There are no pumps, no little motors, no active machinery needed at all. It's just a simple pressure difference across a membrane that is unbelievably thin. We're talking less than a millimeter thick. Oxygen just tumbles in and carbon dioxide tumbles out. It's simple, it's silent, and it is absolutely essential for keeping you alive.
Okay, so our oxygen molecule is officially in the bloodstream. Mission accomplished, right? Not quite. Its journey is far from over. It still has to be delivered to every cell all over your body. And for that, it's going to need a taxi.
And what a taxi service it is. While a tiny little bit of oxygen, about 3%,
just dissolves directly into the blood plasma. A whopping 97% gets picked up by a special transport molecule inside your red blood cells. You've probably heard of it, hemoglobin. It's the very thing that makes your blood red, and it is the absolute key to getting enough oxygen delivered where it needs to go.
Now, this graph, the oxygen dissociation curve, it might look a little intimidating, but it tells a really beautiful story. I want you to think of it as hemoglobin's GPS. See, what the curve shows us is that when oxygen pressure is high, like it is in the lungs, hemoglobin grabs onto oxygen really tightly. It loads up. But when the oxygen pressure is low, like in a hard-working muscle tissue, hemoglobin's grip loosens and it lets go of its precious oxygen cargo right where it's needed the most.
This breaks it down perfectly. In the lungs, you've got high oxygen and low carbon dioxide, the perfect conditions for hemoglobin to load up on oxygen. But then, when it gets to the tissues, it's the exact opposite. Low oxygen and high carbon dioxide from all that cellular activity act as a signal, telling hemoglobin, hey, drop it here. It's just an incredibly smart system that makes sure oxygen is delivered with pinpoint accuracy.
So, our oxygen molecule has been successfully delivered. Job done. But remember, this story has two parts. Now we have to look at the return trip. We gotta collect that waste product, carbon dioxide, and get it out of the body for good.
Carbon dioxide also uses the blood for its return journey, but it's a little more complicated. A small amount, about 7%, just dissolves in the plasma. Another 20 to 25% actually hitches a ride back on hemoglobin. But the vast majority, we're talking about 70%, gets converted into something called bicarbonate for the trip. It's a bit more complex, but it gets the job done, transporting all that CO2 safely back to the lungs.
So how do we physically push that CO2 out? It comes down to the simple mechanics of breathing. To breathe in, that's inspiration, your big diaphragm muscle contracts and flattens out, and your rib muscles pull your whole rib cage up and out. This makes your chest cavity bigger, creating a vacuum that pulls air into the lungs. And to breathe out, expiration, it's even simpler. Those muscles just relax, the chest volume shrinks, and the air, now full of CO2, gets pushed out.
So there you have it, the epic journey of a single breath. And this whole incredible process, this amazing story, is something that doctors can actually measure to see how healthy and efficient your lungs are.
First up, we have what's called tidal volume. This is just your everyday, normal, relaxed breath. It's the amount of air that moves in and out when you're not even thinking about it, and it's usually about half a liter.
But, of course, your lungs have got reserves. After you take a normal breath in, you can keep going, right? You can inhale a lot more air. That's your inspirationary reserve volume. And likewise, after a normal breath out, you can forcefully push out even more air. That's your expiratory reserve volume. Think of these as your body's backup tanks for when you need to run for a bus or climb a flight of stairs. And if you put it all together, your normal breath plus both of those reserves, you get what's known as your vital capacity. It's the total maximum usable volume of your lungs. It's a really powerful measure of your respiratory health. You could say it's the full story of what your lungs are capable of in one single massive effort.
So, from a simple difference in pressure to an incredibly intelligent taxi service molecule, the journey of a single breath is just an epic tale of physics, chemistry, and biology, all working together in perfect, silent harmony. It happens 12 to 16 times a minute, every minute, without fail. It's a constant, life-giving story being written inside of you right now. So, what story is your breath telling today?